So today we're in Greenwich, Connecticut at Granoff Architects to meet the man himself, Rich Granoff. He has been a predominant architect for decades here in Greenwich, Connecticut and abroad. He's been on Good Morning America and has some of his work shown on MTV Cribs. Today we tour his office, learned a little bit more about him and his business. I'm excited to show you. Let's check it out.
Ooh, nice and
Look at
clean
this
in
here.
here. Wow. It just got cleaned up. So yeah, everything that goes into a building is in here. Yeah. You name it. If you open drawers, there's fabrics, there's wall covering, there's carpet books, there's, you know,
so
materials,
this is an architect
fabrics.
office right here.
There's tile, and then every project we have a tray for. Yeah. So this is like, you know, samples for one project. Glass.
There you go, there's your glass.
Cool tiles, you know, terrazzo, wood samples, you name it.
Were you dreaming about this when you were working from your house? Where you're like, man, I have my own space. I'm going to have my own studios.
The materials library is a key part of any design firm. Most designers have it. This is a luxury. I mean, we have natural light here for a reason. Yeah. Because you want to see material in natural light, not always in the dark or in artificial light.
So when you have an office and you have clients come in and you want to have like a meeting room, it's good to have a material room. I mean, that's great. But look at this.
Well, it's different. Here we do presentations on the screen.
This is a great presentation room.
Yeah, that's
I love it.
Graffiti wall. And,
yeah.
Yeah, but we all the presentations happen on this screen.
Just a tiny little TV, just squeezed in here. No, you want to have open space. Look at this light.
Yeah, natural light. And there's acoustic. There's good acoustics in here. And yeah, we set up lunches in here and stuff. So yeah, everything's very functional in here. It's not. Yeah, this is not for sure.
And it feels like such a great place to work, and also if I was a client.
Right. Clients love coming in here. And this is a sliding glass wall. It opens up, and we have events. This is up front of the house. We have events here. That reception desk that I designed becomes a bar.
Of course it does.
You slide this open. I've had events, you know, 20 to 100 people.
Oh, so this all slides open here?
Slides open, yeah, and then this becomes the front of the house space.
That's great. I have to just say your office is absolutely stunning. And I know it has a history. Can you talk a little bit about the facility here? Because whether you bring clients or just people want to come here to work, it is incredible.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm really proud of this office that I've built. This is actually a project. We actually bought the building about 6 years ago. It was the former electric company CL&P building, and it was about 95 years old at that point. It was run down, and I'd been looking for a cool building in town or to build a building if possible. And when this came on the market, I scooped it up, and we proceeded on a 2-year design approvals gut renovation of this landmark building. And Granoff Architects was the anchor tenant. We have 8,000 feet in this building, and we have since leased up the entire building. We have 22,000 feet of tenants, mostly hedge funds and private equity firms. So the building's been fully leased, and I get to work in this really cool place. And the design idea was take a historic building on the outside and restore it while turn the inside into like an interesting modern space. Industrial chic.
Industrial chic.
Industrial chic.
You're going to learn a lot from this video today, everybody. Great lingo, great techniques here. Industrial chic, good. Let's talk about you. You have such a rich history in Greenwich architecture and further in New York City, Westchester, Florida, further. But the start of your career, Rich Granoff starting off, I know you went to Syracuse, you've talked a little bit about that. Yeah. You started in New York City with David Rockwell.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
So that was my first job out of school. David was also a Syracuse alum, and he hired a lot of Syracuse people like I do, so he's part of the clan, if you will. So I worked with David for 5 years. At the time, it was like a 15-person firm. I think there are 300 now. But I learned a lot from him about high-end design, restaurant design, and I was also doing some homes as a freelancer in the Hamptons, actually. And I decided to put out a shingle in my house, basically. I was working in my basement. Yeah. But the idea behind the firm in its early days was to do both commercial and residential work, which is not common for architects. And ever since, that's been what we do. We do both commercial and residential work. I was just always fascinated by science and technology. I was actually into solar energy and stuff, as a teenager. So I was reading popular science magazines, stuff like that. So I commented more from the maybe technical side. I was interested in construction.
Did you start to feel like you had your own eye for certain things? Were certain things that you pinpointed that you really liked and were really good at?
Well, you know, I'm really more of a generalist. I do a lot of different things. It's not like I only do one thing.
Right.
But I enjoy the fact that I do architecture, interior design, and even landscape architecture. We have 3 on staff here, so we do all. And to me, it's all an integrated part of great design. I try to think out of the box and do things, you know, differently than a lot of other designers, especially, you know, in Greenwich, which has traditionally been more traditional.
Right. And how are you building things or working on or keeping an eye on things, making it a little bit more modern in use of the glass and open spaces than, say, 10, 15, 20 years ago?
Well, technology in glass and glazing has you know, gotten really sophisticated in that we could use much larger panels of glass than we ever could. If you wanted to have, you know, doors out to a patio, if you go back even 10 years, a 3-foot door was about the width, you know, with a frame that you could do for a French door or whatever. Now we can do sliding glass panels up to, you know, 10 or 12 feet wide. So that's a lot of that is advances in technology. It allows us to have larger openings of glass, larger expanses of glass. And that's typically what we do, especially in transitional homes. You know, they might look a little more buttoned up from the front of the house, let's say, but if you're on the water or have a big, beautiful backyard, the back of the home can typically have wider panels of glass. But it all has to work together. You don't want to have a, you know, neoclassical front to a house and a modern back to a house. So those are the subtleties of using glass in different ways.
What do you think it is specifically about that is changing or is so appealing?
Well, large expanses of glass, you know, they basically do 2 things, right? A, you get the view out from inside. And if you're on the water or have a spectacular view, you typically want, you know, more glass than not. And the second thing is it lets a lot of natural light in, so the inside of the homes are brighter. And that's kind of the 2 basic reasons to use, you know, more glass. I rarely have clients that say they don't want more light, you know, or they don't want a better view.
I need more rooms and walls and darker.
You know, I recall once when I had a client that said that. But, you know, I like a darker house, but that's really uncommon. So generally, you know, lighter, brighter interiors and better views.
Which I love. I am so happy that the trends, some of the biggest houses that I've sold in the town have been new constructions, have been moderns, have been a ton of glass. Either the modern farmhouse look or kind of that full contemporary style where the floor plans are just totally open plans.
So that's another variable. So it's not just about the glass walls to the outside. It's about the spaces on the inside. And, you know, whether you want a private dining room or not is one of the first questions I ask.
So again, for people to really get a feeling of how good you are at what you do, they can go and check out the website. We'll also, you know, splash over some of your work. Hopefully we'll get to tour this property that's all glass on the water. Super excited about that.
Not all glass. But
not all glass, right. It's not just one box of glass, okay? There's walls and doors and stuff, some of them. But so just personally, do you have an anchor to one of the types, whether it's with the landscape and the commercial or the residential, one that you just kind of, I really like to do those, but they'll get me really excited?
Well, it's kind of a loaded question, but, you know, look, over the years, I've grown this firm to we're 32 design professionals now, and one of the ways we've grown is by doing larger and larger projects. So I generally am gravitating towards the larger projects in the office, which tend to be larger, ground-up new homes, or multifamily apartment buildings and condo projects. We're starting to really get into really big projects now, including a resort in Anguilla and including like a 500 apartment project in Nashville.
The need for housing.
So there's a national housing shortage, there's a housing crisis depending on who you talk to. We do some affordable housing as well. So I tend to spend most of my time on our larger residential projects or our multifamily projects, which are done mostly for developer clients. So we do B2B and B2C. The B2C is our homes, and the B2B is real estate developers. Those are our main clients. And actually the third is, which is also B2B, is office buildings, office interiors, so corporations. So we work for banks, we work for hedge funds. We do a lot of that kind of work. 6 of my team of 32 is our interior designers. And they do both residential and commercial interiors.
Beautiful.
And I'm hands-on in that world as well. I'm passionate about materials and finishes.
Yeah,
and,
I can see it in our office. We have everything.
This is actually my new house. All the materials from my new house right here. So
yeah, some work and some play there. Yeah, for some.
Yeah, you know, we call it, we have a big materials library in the office, and we call it going to play in the sandbox. So, you know,
Again, get B-roll and show, because the office is absolutely incredible.
Thanks.
You've done amazing projects throughout your career and continuing to do so. You're starting to work on some legacy projects, you call them, right? Things like that.
That's good, legacy project.
Yeah.
This building's a legacy project.
This building's a legacy project. Do you have anything that you've done throughout your career, or maybe you haven't done yet, that something sticks out to you that says, oh, that's a good one?
Well, I love doing adaptive reuse projects, and that's what this 100-year-old building, it used to be an electric company building, I turned it to an office building. You're probably familiar with Restoration Hardware, RH, on Greenwich Avenue. That was the Greenwich Post Office. For people that have been around a while, that's about 10 years ago, we converted that from the post office into Restoration Hardware.
Yeah.
And I've done numerous other what we call adaptive reuse projects. They're very rewarding, because you're taking a great old building and cleaning it up and then turning it into something else. And it's also really green, if you will, or sustainable, not to tear a building down and build a new one. So that's part of my passion for the business is renovating old buildings.
Yeah.
I really like doing it.
You've done so much. Is there anything that you are still getting excited about the future of doing?
Skyscrapers. So
I was just thinking skyscrapers. Saying like the guys in the skyscrapers.
We've done a lot of 4, 5, 6, 7-story apartment buildings, and we're starting to work on our first designs, schematics for 2 projects currently. One in Portchester and one in Yonkers that will be 20 to 25 stories. Okay. And it's kind of a, it's kind of a dream, and it's really we're good at it, because by doing so many projects, you just after a while, whether it's 10 stories or 20 stories, it's not that different. So we're starting to see opportunities in that part of the world. That part of the architecture world.
Wow. I mean, you have done such an amazing job of setting yourself apart and above. What is it about you and your company that sets yourself apart from another architecture firm?
Well, most architects in Greenwich, 95% of the firms, if you will, do houses. That's it. They do nothing else. And good for them, because, if you have a 2, 3, 4, 5-person firm and you do 4, 6 houses a year, that's a very good practice, and it's fun and it's interesting, and residential work is awesome. We separate ourselves apart by being a larger firm and doing many different types of projects and serving different constituent groups.
How do you keep it all in line to where you keep the customer service level at the highest level that it can be? How does all that work?
It's very simple. I have an incredible team. Okay. I've got 5 or 6 very senior architects that are my business partners, and each of them is incredible and kind of runs a separate studio within the firm. A couple of them specialize in homes, a couple specialize in commercial work. And then from there down, everybody that works here is amazing. We have no turnover. It's incredible.
Yeah.
We've had 1 person left the firm in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So we have a great shop to work at, partly because we have great projects, and architects are generally, and designers, motivated by working in a cool environment with great projects.
It helps having a cool boss too,
Yeah, I don't know about that. But, no, we have fun together. We do a lot of field trips, and we do parties, and we're always doing stuff together.
Where do you see architecture and real estate going in the future, especially here in Lower Fairfield County and Greenwich?
So sustainability, green design is
sure.
one of my passions. I've been driving an electric vehicle for 10 years. I've had solar panels on my last 2 houses. So
you were doing electric before it was even cool.
Yeah, I guess I was. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it as a technology that's forward thinking. One of my fortes is spotting trends. And sustainability is a responsibility of the architectural profession, and most architectural firms and architects embrace it and educate their clients as to why they should be doing it and how they should be doing it. There's very little resistance by my clients if I educate them on the return on investment on solar panels, or why I should put EV chargers in every garage in every house we do, because even if you don't think you're going to have an EV, you're going to have an EV.
100%.
And putting that electric charger in
Right.
5 years from now is a problem. So we do a lot in that department, and we want to continue to do more. You know, ESG is a big part of our DNA and pushing that.
We need to understand is this is a big process, especially some of these houses are going to be a year, possibly 2 years to build if you're going to do something really substantial. Or if you're coming in to develop, your ability to work with the town on zoning and what their rules and regulations are. Somebody like Rich is by far an asset, maybe more than anybody else, because of his ability to know how that system works, because that could be a huge hang up, if not kill projects.
Yeah, no, you really should be calling an architect early on in the process when you're looking at land to evaluate the feasibility of building a house on land. You don't want to call the architect after you've bought land.
Yeah, not a good idea.
I shop for land with a lot of, or tear downs with a lot of my clients, because you need to evaluate. There's wetlands issues, there's topography issues, there's septic issues. I mean, it's very complicated. And we bring in consultants. There's a civil engineer always, there's a zoning attorney always, and a host of other environmental consultants and other specialists. But the architect tends to coordinate, be the quarterback for the whole team that's needed. And I don't want to scare you, because it's not that tough a process to get a house built, but it does take 2 to 3 years from when you say start to when you move in.
Right, but having the team and having the process understood is so important. Don't get caught, don't buy the land, think you're just going to be able to do everything and then try to bring in people later, because you might not get the result that you want if you could do it at all. But working with somebody like Rich, working with top builders, bring them in early on in the process, even as you're scouting lands and scouting lots and scouting the area, and asking them if it can be done and what they think in the process is so, so important. I want to ask you, to newer people, newer architects, inspiring architects, what's something that you can give them as far as advice in 2022 and going forward, maybe to kind of think about in their career?
Well, take care of your clients. It's a high service business, very high service business. And keeping clients happy and make sure they love what you're designing for them, and communication is really the key to being successful as an architect.
So you've seen the office, you've seen some of the space, you talk to the man, check out his stuff, work with him. Rich, thank you so much. Rich Granoff, Granoff Architects. Take care.
Let's get lost inside, lose track of time.